Parshat ובחוקתי, the limud shebirafurah ta'cholim, Chaya Pasha Batidit, ve'Avraham ben Rivka, ve'Anna Flores, ve'Mari Flores, ve'Toch Sha'achal Yisrael, ve'Lui Nishmat, Yaakov Nisan ben Hasi. Why are we not making a mistake? We are entering the Parsha before Shavuot, and we're reading Parshat ובחוקתי, and it seems like it has nothing to do with Shavuot. The Parsha, early on in the Parsha, in Perek Kaf Hey, Pasuk Yud Daled, it reads, V'ki timkeru mimkar la'amitecha, o kano miyad amitecha, el tonu ish et achiv. He says, the Torah says, when you are selling something, or when you are buying something, do not deceive your friend. Two questions. Number one is, why is this any different than what we've heard countless times? Okay, we know to be good to people and not to deceive them. Why specifically now, and why has the Torah not given us this information for the last two Sfarim of the Torah, in Breshit and Shemot, and most of Vayikra? Yet we still need to be told it now. Number two is that now that we have an insight of what Parshat ובחוקתי is it centralized around laws, specifically those related to Shemitah and Yovel. How is this a preparation for receiving the Torah in Shavuot? Like when you're preparing for a basketball game and you're playing pump-up music, you don't put on classical music. Yet the week before Shavuot, we are reading a parsha about laws related to Shemitah. And so the majority of Shemitah on a very surface level, is about letting the land rest in the seventh year. But on a much deeper level, the Sfarim Emet says, Uparsha zo mekavanat lezeh, ki mitzvah hashmita, hu lavo el ha'achdut. Lefi ha'pashut sheyad hashirim va'anayim, shovea b'shmita. This parsha brings the Jewish people to achdut, to unity. Why? Because everyone is participating. You could be poor, you could be rich, you could be popular, you could be cool, you could be funny, you could be tall, you could be short. Everyone is doing nothing. No one's working the land. A pasuk in Tehillim reads, Mot u'chaim biyad lashon. Death and life is determined biyad lashon, by way of speech. And that's nice, but I don't see how it's true. Like, for example, my aunt and uncle Bezrat Hashem are about to give birth to their second child, mamish, in this coming week, and that has nothing to do with language. No one that's all physical. Has nothing to do with speech. So on a simple level, I think one could say it does, because of tefillah. But digging in even deeper than that, it does because just like language, just like speech, can destroy a life, because when you speak to someone improperly through Lashon Hara, you can destroy someone. Even though they might physically be living, you have destroyed their soul. So too, you could speak and you can give life. You could tell someone how much you love them. You could tell someone how great of a person they are. Those two acts can give life to someone. Someone who may or may not have been walking every day feeling lifeless, and you just gave them a breath of life. But how does this help us with our question? How does this help us with how is Shemitah preparing us to receive the Torah? To prepare us to go into Shavuot? So the Sfat Emetz explains that Shemitah is a giant preparation to a giant party of Shavuot. As in, everyone is going to participate in this preparation. Like we said, no matter what level you are on, no matter how much of a chacham you are, no matter how much of a rasha you are, any level, you get to come and join in the preparation to receive the Torah. In the Sfat Emetz language, v'zeh smichat Shemitah l'Har Sinai, and this is why Parshat Shemitah is right next to the receiving of the Torah. She'al yidei bechinat ha'achdut mitmorer koach kabbalat haTorah libnei Yisrael v'haTorah miyuchedet libnei Yisrael v'hi eitz hachayim mamash. Because just like words can give life, so too can actions. What does that mean? As in, the fundamental principle of the Torah, as we know, is v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And if that is the fundamental principle, how do we prepare to receive that principle? By acting that way. So when we observe Shemitah and read the Parsha of Shemitah this coming Shabbos, we are saying everyone is part of the preparation of receiving the Torah. Because without everyone being part of it, if there's one kid on the side, it doesn't work. My Rebbe once told a story about when he was in Yerushalayim for, I believe, Yom HaAtzmaut, and he said that everyone was dancing, but there were a ton of old people on the side who weren't dancing. And he said, this doesn't work. If all of the Jewish people aren't there, then it isn't real. So he went over to them, and he invited them to come dance. And so you had a dancing party with old people. And essentially, when you think about what Shemitah really is it's doing nothing. Because sometimes doing nothing is doing the biggest thing. Like, for example, when someone comes home from a day of work, when your spouse comes home from a really long day of work, and they need to just talk about their day, and they're going to get annoyed about it, it has nothing to do with you. But your biggest and most important action would be to do nothing. Just sitting there and being quiet would be the biggest and most appreciative thing that you could do for them. And so when you think about what happened at Har Sinai where Moshe was writing the Torah for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Jewish people were meant to do nothing. Let's not talk about what they did, but they were supposed to do nothing. They were supposed to wait. And so Shemitah is saying that waiting brings unity. And so when we read the pasuk, "V'ki timkuru b'imkar la'amitecha, o konem miyad amitecha, al tono ish et achiv." Don't mistreat someone, because right now the only thing that you need to do is just not act poorly. And if you do that, then that is the essence of the Jewish people. Because the essence of the Jewish people is to affect. And how do we not affect? We throw a party that everyone's invited to. Everyone is invited to, you know what the pass you need to come to the party is? To be a Jew. That's the pass. You want to come to Shavuot? You just need to be a Jew. Just is not to take away from it, but to emphasize the significance that so many people, that all of the Jewish people are part of it. one is not learning Torah if their Torah does not affect the way they act. And so there was a story about Rav Kook that when he was the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, after many months of being the chief rabbi, his wife noticed that she had not received checks and payment for the last 3 months of his work. And so she politely goes up to the president who appointed Rav Kook as the chief rabbi of Yerushalayim, and she says to him, I don't mean to be impolite, but I need money for dinner this week. And he said to her, ma'am, I understand why you need money, but we've paid your husband. We've sent him checks every single month for the last 3 months. And so they made an investigation because clearly there was something going wrong. And so it turned out that Rav Kook was receiving the money, but he wasn't putting it in his own bank account. He was handing the checks out to other people. And so the story ends that, or really the story continues, that Rav Kook no longer received the paychecks and they were directed to his wife. But the essence of what Rav Kook was acting was that it doesn't matter about me, it's about the Jewish people. I have enough money to eat, but the Jewish people did not. And so he gave his money as way of saying, my Torah means nothing if I don't live it. If you sin to Beit Midrash, but you never go outside to live your Torah, and you don't relate it to the way that you treat your wife and your family and your patience and your ahava, then none of it matters. Because the Torah is a utility to accessing all of those things. So when we discuss and we think about why we are reading Parsha Shemitah this week, it is because if we want to receive the Torah, and if we want to learn Torah, we need to act in the way of the Torah. And the best way to do that is to include everyone in what you are doing. And so my bracha, going into Parsha, ובחוקתי, is that we all internalize that sometimes to recognize our unique specialness, we don't actually need to do anything. And by way of doing nothing, that is the biggest expression of ahava. That we are not going to work the field for the 7th year because we're going to say to ourselves, it doesn't matter how much money I have. That's not why I'm doing any of this. I'm doing this to connect to Hashem and to relate to my family. And the biggest way to do that is for us to walk in unity of nothing, of just serving Hashem. Shabbat Shalom.